Hello, Abigail here with the Tarotscopes for Gemini season, Pisces sun, moon, and rising. My Pisces people, this Gemini season is your fellow mutable sign, and it is chaotic and has an undertone of Pluto energy because we have that trine to Aquarius with that Pluto in there. And that is the way it's going to be until 2043. There will always be some form of Pluto trine in Gemini season for that long. So buckle up, folks. And also, this season is incredibly transitory. We have so many planetary shifts into different signs, some pretty major ones, but we're going to get into that and then we're going to get into your tarot. But let's get going. So, on May 24th, if you're in a different time zone than me, not EST, it might be May 25th because it's right on the edge of the day. It's like 11:36 or something. We get Saturn entering into Aries. And this is a big deal. We're moving into a new Saturn cycle. Now it does retrograde back into Pisces and doesn't go into Aries again until 2024. Oh, God, 24. But we're going back a year, 2026 until 2026. Amazing, Abigail. And it is the beginning of the end of Saturn and Pisces. And we are going to experience a bit of what Saturn in Aries is going to be. Also, very important, the minute Saturn enters into Aries, we get a Neptune adjacency. So, like, no, they're not going to have their exact conjunction until later, but it is going to be hanging out next to Neptune the whole time. And we'll have to pass Neptune in order to move through its cycle because Neptune moves very slowly. So, this is not just a Saturn transition. This is two major planets kind of dancing around each other. So pretty big stuff. And then the very next day on the 25th, we get Mercury heading into Gemini. And finally, Mercury is in domicile, which we love. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. However, when Mercury moves without retrogrades, it moves really fast. So we'll be in a different sign even by the end of this season. But we get Mercury in Gemini and domicile, which is a really great vibe. Things move quickly, language is clear and intricate, and it is Mercury's home. They get to do what they want, they have fun. It's a really great time for communication and for being yourself. Then we get a new moon in Gemini the very day after on the 26th. This does have a trine to Pluto. It does feel really deep and ancient in a way. I do think, and I'm very excited for this, that the domicile Mercury is going to come in and give us a bit of a save. It's not bad per se, but it is going to be a very intense moon with that free flowing energy to Pluto. So having a domicile Mercury to support is going to be helpful. And we have something similar happening with the Sagittarius full moon. So I'm looking forward to those moments, even though they are going to be a lot. Then moving into June, we get Venus entering Taurus on the 6th, another domicile planetary placement. Venus is the ruler of Taurus and so at home. And it's nice because it's been a detriment for a hot second now, especially with the retrogrades. So enjoy this. This is a great time for pleasure. It's a great time for slowing down and listening to your body and moving through things in a very Venusian and decadent way. Eat as many pastries as you want. That's at least what I think. And then on the 8th, we get Mercury entering into Cancer. Not the best for communication per se, or at least getting things done, but a beautiful time for expression and the connection and communication and finding people that support and love you. So it's a really pretty transit. No, not highly functional as like direct communication goes, but highly functional when it comes to sharing our feelings and communicating in wordless ways. Then on the, let's see what we got going on the 9th, right after Mercury enters Cancer, we get Jupiter going into Cancer, which is probably one of the favorite transits of astrologers this year because this year is intense. And this is pretty much the only planet that's going into, and a major outer planet that's going into an exalted position. So, and also out of a detriment one, aka Gemini. Gotta love a Gemini Jupiter being all teehee and funny. So yeah, we get this beautiful Jupiter in Cancer. Expansion isn't always a two-sided coin. We get to really enjoy things a lot more, and Jupiterian things are more Jupiterian, and we get to expand and swim and play with this cosmic energy, which I'm very excited about. Then on the 11th, we have that full moon in Sagittarius, which is square the lunar nodes. When there is a lunar moment, like a full moon or new moon square, especially since this one is a grand cross, the lunar nodes, it can feel very much like an eclipse. But we do have the ruler Jupiter in an exalted placement. So there is support, there is help, there is aid in this moment of intensity. So while I think both of the lunar events in this season are intense and maybe difficult, we have lovely planetary support. So be secure in that. And then on the 17th, we get Mars entering into Virgo. And this is a get it done Mars. It picks through the minutia. I think the downside is that Mars can get bogged down by minutia. It can get frustrated. It can get a little mean. But when it is functioning well and when it gets moving, Mars in Virgo is to the point and direct and likes to get things done. So I do feel, especially with its sextile to Cancer, that this is also going to be a great time to process what Cancer and Mars meant for you, because we had that big retrograde end of last year, beginning of this year. And that is the astrological journey of Gemini season. Obviously, there are aspects in here. You can always join me for my weekly rundowns, but let's get into your archetype. And I find it's really interesting cards, because this one, the orphan archetype, feels really sad, and maybe it's just my perception of things, but then these cards are really celebratory. So we're going to piece together what the cards are coming in to say. So we have the orphan card. It is about this sense of loss and of maybe not feeling as though we have a place to belong. And I think that this Gemini season is about finding that belonging, finding found family, reconnecting. Because just because you're an orphan doesn't mean you don't have family. It just means that you don't have that pocket of a family. And so in this, I think it's about expanding into the idea of found family and people who care about you and reconnecting to our roots. And maybe you're not an orphan as in like your parents have passed, but maybe you're no contact like me, or maybe you've been orphaned from your history or orphaned from your legacy and from the roots, your indigenous roots. Many people who are white are very orphaned from their indigenous roots, the tribes of, Europe. And this is a great season to kind of dig in and find those roots and reconnect, or find a found family and really expand this understanding of family within this feeling of isolation and orphaning. And the reason I say I think you're going to find it is because these cards are crazy positive and very connected. Um, but understand if you feel orphaned in this moment, or you feel as though you don't belong, or you feel as if you have no place to go, there are places that are non traditional that are there for you. There are spirits and spiritual groups that are there for you. There are deities that might be a home. There are, beings that believe that you belong in whatever system they function in. So, not to sound cliche and not to minimize feelings, but there is a home for everyone. And just because you have been orphaned in some way doesn't mean that there isn't a home for you. And it's not about going in and trying to find acceptance. It's about believing that you're already accepted in the spaces that you belong in and that those spaces exist. Um, and yeah, I do think there is a sense of grieving in Gemini season for you, of just recognizing this. But I really love the circling snake here, that encirclement. Like you're alone and you're reaching for this idea of connection and family and belonging, but you're also protected and cared for. And as we move into these cards, because when I said they're starkly different, they are. We start off with the King of Cups. There is a great power in knowing your place, and in knowing the history that you have. And sometimes a loss of something causes us to seek something else. So there's a great amount of power and energy and depth to you because of the things that you don't have and because of the spaces that are not filled. And you get to fill them yourself, which is a lot of work. And oftentimes, as someone who's experienced this energy, can feel more like loss than gain. But it does mean that you get to fill those spaces with stuff that are uniquely meant for you, and uniquely aligned with who you are and what you deserve. And it takes an immense amount. I don't think anyone gets to a King of Cups space by having things easy, by things being simple and not complex. The King of Cups holds multitudes and has learned to regulate The King of Cups didn't just get this. You don't become this rich, powerful figure without having to grow and stretch and learn. And in this season, I think you're really going to get a glimpse into how you have been shaped and the pain that has made you the way you are and the joy that has made you the way you are and how it makes you a complete and whole person, which is very much the King of Cups. And then we have a beautiful Ten of Cups. And I love this because this elephant is filling all the cups on his back. You have an opportunity to fill your cups this season. It feels like there's a massive amount of emotional richness, of people to meet, of places to fill, of stages to take power in. And I love this because while it is nice to get things, in this card, you are very much filling your own cup. You are very much knowing what you want. And I think that is the key of the orphan, is when you know what separation and when you know what disconnection and not belonging feels like, you know that much better what belonging and connection and joy feels like. And in fact, you crave it all that more because you know exactly what it feels like to be empty. And so in this season, you get to fill yourself up with joy and expansion. This is also going to be the first season that you don't have Saturn in there for a couple of years. So you get to really soak in and bring in stuff. It does feel as though the retrogrades and Saturn's ingress into Aries has kind of pulled out a lot of stuff that was taking up unnecessary space, and also that North Node, unnecessary space in Pisces. And now you get to fill it up with stuff that you love. You get to fill that space with things that you love. So definitely check where Pisces is in your chart. What are you filling up? What vessel and what are the what are the contents of that Piscean vessel? Is it the sun? Is the moon in there? Are there different placements in there? What is contained within Pisces and what are the themes? So like, are you seventh house Pisces? Are you a 10th house Pisces? Are you a first house Pisces? All of these things matter. And then we have Chariot, which is the card of Cancer. So it feels like that trine with Mercury and Jupiter is really activating something really beautiful for you. You are on a journey, you're moving forward. Is it a bit precarious? Is it a bit teeter-tottery? Yes. But you are moving through with skill and purpose and finding the stuff that you want and taking the stuff that you want and being like, yes, this is for me and I deserve it and it is mine. And Cancer, it's also this idea of expanding into a journey, of leaning into all of the experiences you get to experience as you move through life. So, in all of this, in this sense of loss, don't lose track of the fact that you are a sponge that gets to soak up some of the most beautiful things in life. And you deserve to have those experiences and to be on the journey that you're on. And even if it's difficult right now, it does feel as though you're getting a lot of perspective and some things are loosening up and you're starting to see things unfold. Also, when I've been doing readings, Cancer season has really stood out, Cancer season and Leo season, and the end of Gemini season. So stuff is starting to move and pick up. So if you're feeling like things are stuck now, wait until we get into the summer. Then we have a King of Wands. So we have King of Cups, now a King of Wands. Once again, it is the power of knowing. It is the power of vast experience, of knowing what hopelessness feels like, of knowing what joy feels like, of being able to kind of weave together stories with a vast comprehensions of feelings and passions. And with this King of Wands, it is about taking what you want and committing to those dreams and those hopes and moving forward with power and with force and, not caring what other people think. The King of Wands does not give a damn. The King of Wands knows what he wants and where he is going. He has a brand of fire that leads the way, and he goes forward into whatever darkness he has to traverse with the power of fire and light. So you have this really lovely relationship of this emotional intuition and knowing. And now that fire is kicking in and we're getting moving. Also, Mars is going to be at the very end of Gemini season going to enter Virgo. So you're going to Mars opposition, so you're really going to have to face up to what you want and what you desire and how much you're willing to invest in that. And last but not least, I really love this. We have a Nine of Cups. So we have the Ten of Cups in here. You're on a journey to find out what your cups are. I love this because we've got this, the cups in this deck are elephants, and we've got these little cups in the river and the elephant on the edge. You're on a journey to find your cups. And um, they read the Aquarius right before this, and they had a Nine of Cups too. Part of it is about attainment, but part of it is about knowing what a cup is to you, knowing what you want to put in your cups, and then obviously, eventually, filling them. And this season is about you getting clear with your cups, with the vastness of your experience, with the container that you have of understanding loss and belonging and the dynamics of opposing experiences and feelings. And this is also about knowing what home is and coming home to yourself. Even if you don't currently have a place that feels like home and you feel very orphaned, you do have an opportunity this season to really find out what that means for you and to really start to get clear on what you really want and how you want it. A lot of us are guided by things that we heard when we were kids and stuff that we dreamed when we were in our early 20s. If you're in your early 20s, your dreams are absolutely valid, but they do shift over time. Um, and wherever you are in this place, it's time to really ask yourself, what do I want in my dreams? For the longest time, I wanted visibility and I wanted to shine, and I do. I just, with my birth chart, it's a very complex experience. And only in the last couple of years, and specifically the last couple of months, I really just want to be safe and to be stable, and not in like a boring way, but I want the ability to I don't need to shine on a massive stage. I just want to shine in my little candle holder. I don't need to be a beacon of light for the world. I just want to be a beacon of light for the space that I live in. And to feel that safety and security and have the fuel for that. Um, so you don't have to turn into a Taurus and want to live in a cozy place and have cozy friends and be seen by people who love you. You can want to be on the stage if that is what is meant for you. But it is about knowing the complexity of those desires and understanding how you shift and change through time and how your experiences really tell the story, and really influence what you desire, especially as you move through first Saturn return, nodal oppositions, Jupiter returns, nodal returns, all of these things that we experience through our lifetime. So it feels like a really impactful season. It feels like a season where you start to really feel into what you desire and getting the things that you want. And maybe you won't have them yet, but you know what they are, and that is half the battle. All right, my loves, that is my reading for Gemini season for my Pisces humans. I will see you in a different space and time. Please like and subscribe and comment if you want to chit chat. I love to hear about your experiences or what this reading, felt like for you. And you know what? Have a blessed Gemini season.